Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1983's The Dead Zone, which was directed by David Cronenberg and is a Stephen King adaptation. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us again is our Stephen King guru, Dom Berger. Dom, welcome back to the show.
Happy to be here, guys. This is it's been good to be back. The last episode I was supposed to be on, I was throwing up all night, so you guys carried on valiantly without me.
Oh my god, yeah. What was that episode?
I think it was Black Phone.
Yeah, dude, I freaking love that movie. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. I remember texting Dom like about the basement and stuff. Movie was sick. I love that movie, guys.
That was the last time you were on, Dom?
Was supposed to be, and it was The Mist. The Mist was the one before, I think.
Yeah, the one I actually got on was The Mist. And dude,
another good one.
Wait, I know that you guys talked about this movie already, but just a quick note on the Black Phone. I loved that movie. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, that was a diamond in the rough for sure.
Ethan Hawke, man. He's such a horror guy now. It's great.
Presence, dude.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Well, now you're back, Dom. You're back for... Dude, like, I've never seen this movie. I think one of the best Stephen King adaptations, like, ever, right? Am I crazy? Or is this was super good?
I wouldn't say the best. Yeah, man, it's up there. It is up there. It is. But I don't know about best ever. It's hard.
This happens to me every time, but I literally am like, okay, people who haven't read the book must be so fucking confused at this point. So the book itself is pretty, you know how the plot and this is all over the place. The book's like that. But I was watching the movie thinking, like, it's jumping around so much. Tell me, like, when you're watching it, you liked it, and I agree. I think Christopher Walken's, even like Martin Sheen, his brief couple of scenes, I thought they were fantastic, and not given a lot to work with, and that's why I liked it. But I want to know, watching this, were you confused at all? Do you have any, like, I have so many answers if you have questions.
Well, I wasn't confused. I did think it jumped around a lot, and I figured, like, okay, they just couldn't fill in a lot of the in-between stuff because it didn't seem as interesting. But the thing that was really interesting to me was the directing and the characters. Like, that's what I cared more about. The plot, obviously, was cool, but, like, dude, David Cronenberg, just in this period of time, he just had this really cool way of having this loner character doing something weird. I mean, he just did Videodrome with James Woods a couple months earlier, and then this, and they have a very similar feel. So I was so enamored with it just because of that. But yeah, it's confusing.
I would say, Dom, there's an Act 1 and an Act 2 to this movie. Act 1 is the accident, 2 when he gets shot and solves the crime. It's like, that alone is a movie.
Right, dude. And that's the funny part, is that the book does this, right? It sets up, they do a little bit more. So in the beginning, when they cast Christopher Walken, right? And he's clearly like 40 in this movie. Mm-hmm. And he's dating that teacher, Susan, at the school, right? You know, at first he's kind of dressed like a 70s Harry Potter. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of like an interesting choice. And then they jump straight to the accident, right? So there's more stuff in the novel. They go to a fair together, him and Susan, on a date. He starts playing like a carnival show, like a sideshow where you guess what number, the spin is going to land on. Mm. And because he has these visions, he's like, he guesses every single number right, and he wins more and more money.
Wait, before the accident, he's already guessing all the shit?
This is before. So
what?
His ability to see into the future starts much earlier in the book. I don't want to get on a tangent if we want to talk about the movie first, and then we can talk about the book.
Well, you can see a little bit of headache happening on that roller coaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah,
it's like, what's up? His brain's kind of weird already, and then whatever the accident did, probably like Alex smacked him into being a superhero.
Not actually too far off, dude. In the book, it starts much younger. So it goes back when Johnny is young, right? He's skiing on some pond, and he's going backwards, and he trips, he falls backwards, and he smacks his head on the ice, right? Somebody goes to help him up, and when Johnny touches him, he says to the guy, "Don't charge the battery, it's going to explode." And the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Johnny doesn't remember saying it. Later on, that guy jump starts his car, and it explodes because it's an old battery, and it shoots acid into this guy's face. So like, you can start to see it early, and then that power isn't prevalent, and then for some reason that night when they go to the fair, he can see every number before they roll it, and it freaks out Susan. So Susan's like, I gotta go home, I'm feeling sick. So he takes her back to her place. She's sick. He's like, I'm not gonna stay the night, I don't want people talking. He goes to take a cab home, right, because he drove back with her. He takes a cab home, and in the cab ride, they get hit by another car, and that's the accident. Cab driver dies. Johnny's in a coma for 4 years, and that's kind of where the movie and the book line up.
Ooh, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I think they did a good job catching you up quicker. Where
so much faster.
He rode like Boulder Dash, which is a roller coaster in New England. That's really bumpy, but not terrible. It's a fun one. Yeah, and then it's like getting double concussed. Like you ever get like your bell rung? But like
by you mostly, but yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Dom's wedding. Yeah,
we used to do that. Yeah,
I used to. I mean, my dad at my own wedding, my dad was like, "Hey, Eric, I hear that you headbutt people in rugby," and you're like, "Yeah, I don't do that anymore." And he's like, "Do me a favor, can you go over to my son on his wedding night and just fucking headbutt him real hard?" And you're like, "For real?" And he's like, "Please." And you're like,
I kept it very gentle. I was like, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna like keep it like PG-13.
It probably helped sober me up, man.
No, I just love how, like, for that night, like, I was sober, obviously, and I'm sitting there watching you, Dom, shirtless, and Eric, like, I don't want to, and you, like, begging him.
Your dad videotaping it. He's filming it.
I have a video of it, dude.
I'm like, come on, Mr. Berger. Like, imagine I cracked your head open, and you're bleeding on your wedding day, and it's like, Eric. It's like, what did I do? Like, your dad's like, wow, man, not cool. It's like, oh,
no.
Man.
In our family, it's all about the story, man. So if you walk away with a good enough story, it's like, it's almost worth it. I know that's fucking terrible, but it's true.
Yeah, you getting stitches being like, I love you, Maggie, like, it's not good.
Oh my God. It's just so much funnier because, like, if someone's drunk watching it, they're like, do it. And I'm sitting there watching it like, this is like kindergarten. Like, these are kids, like, let me do it. I don't want to do it. And they're like, and I'm like, this is insane.
You're like, this man is about to get married, like, or is married.
Dom, instead of getting like psychic abilities, he just drools a little bit when he has cereal.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess the thing is, like, when Christopher Walken gets in the accident, I thought there was something in the truck that spilled onto him that, like, gave him, like, like a superhero kind of powers. But it's not that. He just has this inherent thing inside of him that he needed to get smacked in the head to woken up. That's basically what happens?
Dude, I thought, so Cronenberg's directing, right? I thought that was going to be the thing. I'm like, oh, obviously they're using this trucker, like this radioactive water, like you were saying. And I thought, oh, they're going to put a science twist on it. And then they had that weird scene after where the old guy comes over and he's like, yep, definitely a body in here, and just like walk away.
Yeah, so, okay, so Eric, obviously this reminded you of a South Park episode, I'm assuming, right?
When Cartman's solving crimes and stuff.
Yeah, I watched it last night. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much the first act of this movie, mostly. It
right.
doesn't go into like a politician. Totally a homage to this.
Yeah, Cartman like falls off, hits his head, and then immediately gets psychic powers, wakes up in the hospital, and it's like very beat for beat like this. So I don't really like that from the book, though. I think I prefer him just having the abilities later in life, and it's just like, oh, freak accident sort of thing.
My take on it is there's a part of his brain like that is dead. Like your medulla oblongata is dead, and like you don't have happiness anymore or whatever, And the brain is such a powerful thing. It's crazy to like really grasp, and we never have. But imagine like that happening. I totally believe something like this could happen.
Actually, Eric, let me tell you really quick. This did happen. There's a guy that this is based off of. I looked it up. His name is Peter. Oh shit! Hold on. The Dead Zone. Real guy. His name is Peter something, and he died in 1988. And this was actually like a guy that this really happened. He like would help the cops solve crimes and stuff like that. He helped them find the Boston Strangler. It's like,
yeah, I've heard that before too.
Oh, you have?
I think I have.
That's insane.
I've read Boston Strangler. I'm trying to remember, but I remember. See, my history with this movie is I watched this. My dad loved this movie, and I watched this with him when I was in like 5th grade, I think. Mm-hmm. And I it was one of those movies where I didn't start at the exact beginning. I kind of came in after the accident, but I loved it. I thought it was so cool.
I love Christopher Walken in it, man. Like, I mean, he shines. It's him in everything he does. So I just love watching it happen. But there's a couple of things where he yells that are like, you know, very Christopher Walken, and it makes the character make sense a little bit more. In the book, he's just kind of this nice, like, teacher. He's much younger. He's like in his 30s or something. He gets into this accident. It's kind of sad, but, like, you know, it goes through this whole where he's helping the police out, right? And then he gets famous, and they try to make him into, like, a national psychic. And he refuses to kind of, like, play for the cameras. But he has much more intense, like, psychic moments where he, like, touches somebody. The movie does a pretty good job, but it doesn't, like, it changes out a lot of the different, like, the characters. Let me tell you what's important is that his headaches do get worse, but it turns out that he's got a brain tumor. So it's kind of like a phenomenon moment where it's like he's going to die within 6 months, and he knows he has to kill Greg, this politician is crazy. And there's a lot more on Greg Stilson. They go through his entire past leading up to him being like the mayor, and he's like a corrupt dude who literally sells Bibles, but he's got like an anger issue. So they talk about how he would go to people's houses, and if they weren't home, he'd like kill their dog, like out of anger.
What?
And he gets to a position where he can make arrests within this small town. He's like the head of the police. And he recruits all of these like bikers that he catches going through with like drugs. And what he does is he puts them on his payroll. So his entire like political campaign team is made up of a bunch of thugs.
It's a mob, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they all work for him. And he's crazy as shit. But his campaign is kind of like a Trump thing where he's like, oh, like, I'm your everyman. He wears a construction hat. He does it as a joke, but he ends up winning because he charms all these people who don't want to see real politicians win. It's very Trump-like.
Yeah.
You know, and then so he has a brain tumor at the end. I'm sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't read the book. And he's like, he knows he's touched Greg's hand. He knows like Greg's going to ruin the world. And he's like, I have to shoot him. And it's really interesting because I was wondering, I was like, oh God, is this what the movie is like? When you guys see like Christopher Walken take up a rifle and like sit up in it, like, do you really feel like you live in 2023? You're like, oh shit, Chris, that's a big step there, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, he saw the future though. Like, he had to do it.
And he asked his doctor too. Like, he's like, he needs. They should have dove into that he's dying thing more in this movie.
Yeah.
Because then it'd be like more reason. Like, at least I'm gonna go out stopping something.
Well, instead of him dying, he kind of says this, which I loved this line, and this is kind of the justification for why he does it. He says, as he was a bachelor and in nobody's debt, nobody troubled their head about him anymore. That was in the note he wrote to that girl. And I was like, oh, so that's why he thinks, like, okay, like, nobody's gonna, like, I'm just gonna kill myself, basically. Like, nobody relies on me. I don't have debt to anybody. Like, I'm just gonna go fucking kill myself.
The Ichabod Crane thing.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow.
Which is kind of cool because he played the Headless Horseman in the Sleepy Hollow movie. And I'm like, I kind of caught that. Like, oh, shit. That's probably why they casted him, because he's from the Dead Zone and he talks about Sleepy Hollow.
Is that weird that you see those connections so much later in life and you're like, oh, it makes sense?
Dude, you learn something new every day. Speaking of, I've been working on my Christopher Walken impression all day.
Yes,
it's horrible. It's like a C-, honestly. But look, Dom Berger here in the Dead Zone, kids falling through ice. It's crazy.
I love it, man. That's
not bad.
Yeah.
Dude, he's probably the hardest fucking impression. And when people nail it, it's like, wow, dude, you do a great Christopher Walken. I give myself like a C-, but
there's some good specifics in there, man. You did a good job.
It's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, he definitely became a caricature of himself, I think, from SNL, because he's pretty tame in this. I mean, Deer Hunter, Jesus Christ. Wait, no, yeah, he was in Deer Hunter, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that is him. Yeah, Jesus Christ. He was so intense in that. But then as like the 90s go on, he becomes like the version of you, Eric, I think. You know where I think it started was in Pulp Fiction, when he's like, there was a watch and it was in his ass. Like, that whole thing. It's kind of comedic, but it's like, and from that point forward, I think everybody just started kind of like doing that inflection of him, because he doesn't talk like that in this movie, you know?
I don't know who would ever talk like that normally.
But that monologue, like, whenever I see him in anything, all I could think is, put it up its ass. You know, like, I'm just like, wow.
6 months. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so good. Another, actually, to lead into Quentin Tarantino from this movie. So, I can't remember. I thought it was 5 years in Kill Bill that she was in a coma, and it took her like 10 hours in a truck to figure out how to walk. Christopher Walken never learns how to walk again, even though in the beginning of the movie he's just like, don't worry, your limb's temporary. And he's like, okay, good. And then, like, nope, rest of the movie he's got a cane.
Well, it was also shot.
Yeah.
That probably took him back a couple hours, you know?
That's some bullshit.
True. Why did he get shot? Like, what was the point of that? I was just like, let's just make his life even worse.
Also, why did that guy go out like the way he did with the scissors? It's like, dude, you have a gun.
Yeah. Dom, please say they explain that in the movie, in the book.
In the book, they do that he does it with a razor.
Okay, so he slices his throat with a razor, or what does he do?
He cuts from below the 2 ears across, so like ear to ear.
Oh, God. Okay.
It's brutal.
Okay.
That's why when I saw it in here and I was like, oh, Cronenberg's doing this, there's a chance that this is fucked up. And it was pretty tame, you know? I was like, all right.
Yeah, and one other thing, Dom, I'll point out is he sterilized the scissors. Did you see that? It was in like the sterile. I was like, that's nice. You know, when you're in between kills, clean your blade. I like that, you know. I don't know if AIDS is going around at this time. That was awful.
Oh, it's so much worse in the book, dude. It's like he stalks like school children are constantly passing, and he rapes this little girl. Oh and God. The reason that the cop comes to take Johnny in is because his daughter went to that school. The sheriff's daughter went to school at the same school that this other little girl went to. And at lunchtime, the teacher lets them cross across the gazebo in the courtyard to go to the library. So that's on the way. So that cop would wait there, and he'd find someone that was alone, and then he'd take them and strangle them, and then rape and kill them, right? What? So his daughter was crossing to the library, the sheriff's daughter, that day. She was the group before. She had another girl with her, so he didn't take her. But the next girl that came out was a friend of hers and was killed and raped. So this sheriff is literally at his wit's end because he's like, that could have been my daughter. And he's like, I know that, like, it's the longest shot in the world. I don't believe in this shit, but, like, I will do anything to catch this guy. So he brings in Johnny. Johnny catches him. That dude slits his goddamn throat. And it's this weird thing where he, like, it happens in the movie, but he's like, you know, the mother knew, you know? This mom, this, like, crotchety throw mama from the train mom is, like, at the front door. And it's really funny because when she goes, like, you're the devil, when you're, like, reading it, you're like, yeah, fuck you, bitch.
Wow.
How could you hide that?
Well, I wanted to ask you too, Dom. Apparently, and I mean, you've read Cujo and, you know, all that stuff. Apparently, the lore goes that guy, because this all takes place in Castle Rock, which is the same town as Cujo and Stand By Me and everything. Apparently, it's the same sheriff in Cujo and this, and also they claim that the spirit of this guy who killed himself, the dot or whatever, possesses Cujo. Is that true?
Yes.
What?
Oh, it's the
It's
worst.
real?
So it starts in the beginning of Cujo, right? Where, like, something's in the closet. You know how they have that jump scare? We did Cujo together, so...
Yeah, I kind of remember you talking about this, actually.
Yes, dude. So, literally, there's, like, this evil spirit, and at the time, Cujo was the last book that I hadn't read, and it had been, like, 5 years since I had, you know, gone... I think since I read this the first time, being The Dead Zone. And I was like, I remember, like, reading or listening to Cujo and being like, oh, my God, Chris Dodd. Like, that sounds familiar. I don't really remember it. And then when we got to this story, I was like, holy shit, it's the police officer.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. That this guy kills himself, his spirit stays in the town and then possesses a dog that starts killing somebody in a different book. Like, that's fucking cool.
It's so cool. There's so many of those, dude. Like, if you guys ever start down the path, if you go in order... like different characters, and they're never main characters, and it's always subtle.
I love that.
I love it.
Yeah, really cool. Also, I love it when you're watching an old movie that you've never seen, and you see an actor, and you're like, why do I know that guy? That's how I felt about the rich guy that Christopher Walken tutors his son or whatever, and I was like, who is this guy? Dude, it's the guy from The Matrix. He's the old guy who's, like, down in Zion in the Revolutions and Reloaded. Do you guys remember him?
Yes, dude, and you're right. That is him.
Yeah, I'm looking at him, I'm like, why do I know this guy? And then, of course, I look him up, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Dude, that's a good catch. I've been sitting there, I was like, he's not the guy from Eternal Sunshine, but he looks like that guy. You know, the older man in charge that Kirsten Dunst. You ever seen Eternal Sunshine?
Mm-hmm.
The older guy who's having had an affair with Kirsten Dunst.
Yes.
I thought it was him for a long time, not him.
Yeah. No, I do know what you're talking about. It's really an all-star cast, though. I mean, Martin Sheen, I love how, like, it's the precursor to him becoming president in, like, West Wing. I didn't recognize his girlfriend. I didn't recognize her. But, just before I forget, there was one line that I thought was like, come on. When he was in a coma and the mom and dad come to visit him, and it's like, where's, like, Sarah? And it's like, oh, she, like, pried onto the arms of another man. It's like, well, what do you expect?
She betrayed. How long until she thinks she's like, you know what? How long is it going to be in this coma?
Well,
what would you give her, a year?
How long do you wait? Let's ask.
Dude,
yeah.
Definitely, like, they went on one date. She was like, oh, no, not you, Johnny. And then she's like, yeah, I'm married.
He took her to, like, an abandoned amusement park in the winter. Like, that was their date. And then she's like, what do you expect from me? What do you expect from me? 4 years?
He had a migraine. He went home. She asked to stay twice. He said no. He left. And then he went and got into a car accident. I don't know if she'd be waiting by his bedside.
And the mom's like, she's in the arms of another man, the whore. And it's like, I don't know.
And she's with child or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, all right, pump your brakes, lady.
In the book, she is a nutcase. So she's like, yes. Like, so he touches her and he's like, he realized, like, what he says to her is, Mom, like, go on the medication. Like, you have something worse than you know. And she's like, she has mental illness, so she gets really, really religious.
Like the mom from Carrie.
And, like, the accident happens. She starts to freak out. She has, like, a mental breakdown. She becomes a religious fanatic, like, believes in, like, UFOs. She's really crazy. And then fucking Johnny wakes up. So she thinks that she prayed enough that God brought him back. So she goes even crazier, and fucking, she, at some point, like, the dad can't handle it anymore because the dad's super normal and super nice. So she runs away to, like, one of her cult, settlements. She dies there, and, like, he's sad about it, but then Johnny's like, you know what, Dad? Maybe you should get out there and try again. It's so different than the movie.
Yeah, that's, like, because if that happened in the movie, you'd be like, wait, why are we doing this? This is such a tangent we're going on with this woman.
Dude, even when you're in the book, you're like, what the fuck? What is happening right now?
Yeah. David Cronenberg's like, nah, just fucking kill her. I don't know. Let's just move on.
I thought she was a good actor, though.
Oh, yeah,
when
sure.
She's, like, dying, like, leave him alone. And she's like,
oh,
yeah. That was really good. I was like, damn, she's a good actor.
She's also 4 years older than Christopher Walken in real life.
That's, what?
Yeah.
That has to be makeup and stuff.
No, she's a heavy smoker. Yeah, of course it's makeup.
Wow.
No, yeah, but I thought that was... I looked up some trivia on the movie. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I did too. Did you guys see who else was up for the role of Johnny? 3 people.
Bill Murray.
Al Pacino. What are you saying, Alex?
Well, Bill Murray was Stephen King's first choice.
For this?
Yeah, and then David Cronenberg's first choice was the guy that played Dodd. And the studios turned both of them down, and then these 3 I heard about as well, Eric.
Yeah. Christopher Walken was a great choice because he's, like, very thin in this movie. But Al Pacino, I can't really see. He'd be way too angry in the scenes. Like, get him off the ice! Get him off the ice!
Do you want to see your son die?
Don't waste my fucking time! Like,
wait, who were the other 2, though, Eric?
Richard Gere, which...
that could have been good.
I can't see it as good as Christopher Walken in this.
No.
And the other one, Robert De Niro, which... You can't really see it as well as Christopher Walken either.
I could see Robert De Niro. I mean, it would be a completely different performance. Christopher Walken makes some choices, man, on some line deliveries, and it's like, I'm just happy to be around for it.
Yeah.
So good.
I could see, who I could see play this as Michael Keaton. Would have been good.
Yes.
He'd be a good, like, handshake with Martin Sheen, I feel like.
Dude, I'm so happy he's getting so much work lately.
Yeah, Birdman was sick, and also The Flash is coming out, that's just a cool way to bring Batman back.
Him in The Founder, he's got a couple. Even him in the Spider-Man movie, that monologue in the taxi, or when they're going to prom. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
I don't honestly.
Yeah, you guys don't watch the Marvel movies.
Eric,
I watch a lot of them. I've been kind of behind.
I don't know, man. I have Disney Plus, and I still don't watch them. Like, Ant-Man Quantum just came out, and Bill Murray's in it. I should just watch it for that sake, but there's just, like, do I wanna? Not really.
Yeah. If you could remake this today, I know what the hell is it? Anthony Michael Hall did the show, right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that briefly, yeah.
Yeah, go out. Talk about that first.
Well, so it's interesting. I looked up that a little bit too. So they made that show in the early 2000s. It was on USA. It lasted for 6 seasons, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and apparently in the pilot, they cram a ton from this movie into the pilot. So they just knock out most of the major plot points, like, right in the first episode. And I heard this guy on YouTube describe it. He's like, it feels like a show that they expected to run for 1 season, and it just kept getting picked up, and they didn't know what to do, and they just kept, like, running themselves into the ground. Because he's like, it's not a great show. He's like, but it just kept getting picked up, and then it just abruptly ends. There's no finale. It just ends randomly.
Oh, my God. 6 seasons and...
Briefly remember my dad watching that show in like 2002 or 2003.
Yeah.
Around like we watched Smallville together and we watched that for a bit.
I watched Smallville back in the day.
Oh, Eric loves Smallville. Eric loves
Like
Smallville.
somebody save me.
God. All right, so what were you saying though, Eric, about the remake?
No, I'm just curious. Like, who would you like if they were to remake it today? Because they've remade a ton of Stephen King movies. Who would you like to see play Johnny?
I have the perfect answer, but I think he's too big of a star now. But Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah, that's a good one.
Interesting.
Stoic, peacoat, doesn't want to do it.
Like what's the movie with Harrison Ford? I can't think of it. The
Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, like Blade Runner version. Yeah,
exactly.
That could work. But you see him with a limp, it's like he could still kick my ass.
Yeah.
You know? You don't want that. Like you look at Christopher Walken, I can push him over.
For sure.
That's what he brings to it. It's like, but he's so powerful. Like that's what I like about his character.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Dom? If you could pick the lead in a remake for right now,
for Johnny in this movie or for Johnny in the book?
Let's go with the movie because that's more people have probably seen that.
Yeah, movie. I wouldn't mind watching like a black Johnny, like a what's his name, fucking Elvis.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, Idris Elvis. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Tracy Morgan. I got really excited. I was like,
oh,
Tracy Morgan.
Yeah, of course, Tracy.
Get him
Morgan.
off the ice.
Oh
that was Dude, did you see Tracy Morgan? He was in an episode of Twilight Zone, the remake, and he's unrecognizable.
Really?
He's more versatile than you think. Everyone thinks he's just the guy from 30 Rock. The guy's a good fucking actor.
Dude, he spoke in a way that was smooth. It wasn't Tracy Morgan's voice. It was like, I couldn't believe how good it was.
Well, he had like a dead zone moment kind of recently. He got nailed by that Walmart truck.
I swear to God, I did not even put that together.
Fuck.
That's even more cool if he did the role, honestly.
Method acting, right there.
Oh my God! Now he does it,
dude. I can't believe I just randomly.
That was awesome.
That. But it has to be a Walmart truck again that hits him. Or
it's
whatever.
easily that's the sequel right there. Like the work is done.
Oh my God. So it takes place in the winter of 1996. The Tickle Me Elmo craze for Black Friday. That's the night he gets in the car accident. So it takes place in the past, so we don't have to worry about cell phones and technology and stuff. Oh my God.
Oh, writes itself.
I'll give you one more actor, and it's kind of typecasting because he plays a similar character in Marvel movies. James McAvoy, I could see being a good Johnny.
Yeah, he was in It. He was Bill in It.
Which is also another reason why it'd be kind of cool that he's been in a couple. He becomes a Stephen King guy. I don't know.
He does have guys. There's definite repeat. Like Martin Sheen was in what do you call it? Push.
By Sapphire?
Yeah, Firecatcher. Thank you.
Wait.
Yeah.
Martin Sheen? Oh yeah, you're right.
Fire starter catcher.
Fire starter catcher.
Yeah.
We loved it.
We watched both of them.
Really quick, just also want to mention the music, really, really good. Nothing, I can't think of it right now, but I remember being really
it's very stressful,
haunting.
Dude, am I a sucker for effective not dream sequences, but when Christopher Walken's having his visions and some of the elements of the vision come into play into his surroundings.
The fire, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love it.
Did you read the trivia about that, Alec?
Yeah, that was so funny.
Tell Don. No, tell Don.
Tell me.
All right. So they filmed that scene, the fire scene with a little girl crying, and he's like, get her, whatever. Apparently they had to go back and refilm that whole thing because there was an E.T. doll in it, and Universal was like, we're going to fucking sue you. And they're Like, god damn it. So they had to go back and it's so funny because now they could just like CGI it out or whatever, just green screen it out. But it's like, god damn, we have to go do the fire thing with the little girl again? It's like, all right.
E.T. She likes E.T. She's sweet.
She's still in therapy over the first 11 takes. What do we...
Yeah.
You know what they should have done? They should have doubled down and been like, well, we'll call Pizza Hut and let them know what you guys said in Poltergeist.
It's like, all right.
Spielberg.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, don't bring Pizza Hut into this.
Oh,
like,
my God. Deep cuts, man.
you ever see that in Poltergeist when he's just like, I don't want Pizza Hut? Like, it's like, it really knocks Pizza Hut back in the 80s. It's insane.
Oh, God. Also, just really want to mention David Cronenberg. Absolutely love him. Like, Videodrome is one of my favorite movies. I didn't realize he directed this, which also is the same year that Videodrome came out. But I gotta say, why can't he end a movie without, like, the saddest ending? I mean, Videodrome... All right, a lot of spoilers. Videodrome is just James Woods shooting himself in the head. This movie is just him dying in his girlfriend's arms, being like, I love you, Johnny. And then The Fly is literally just Gina Davis crying at, like, Jeff Goldblum becoming a fly and falling apart. I'm just like, dude, why are all your movies like this?
Also love The Fly. I thought The Fly ended happily.
No, it didn't.
No.
It definitely didn't.
Gina Davis, like, bawling her eyes out. She's like, why did this happen to me?
Eric's like, yeah, that puts me at peace, man.
Goldblum would be cool to play Johnny, too. I'm picturing him.
Or James Woods. James Woods, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, young James Woods, yeah.
Right. Oh.
Like all of it. But Christopher Walken, born to play this one, though. It feels so right.
Yeah. He really, he was great. He really was. Everybody was great. There wasn't a weak link in this movie. But yeah, I mean, before we wrap up here, you guys got any last minute thoughts?
No, I mean, I loved seeing great actors in these stories because they're always original stories that Stephen King puts out. So just like the chance to see somebody that, like, I'm used to a lot of Christopher Walken being in, like, actually SNL is probably number one when I know him from, like, but seeing him in other movies like like Deer Hunter, man, dude, when I think of like anytime playing Russian roulette, that scene comes to fucking front and center. But it's nice to see him be able to like just like lend himself to this. It's fantastic.
And Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies with Christopher Walken, this movie called The Prophecy. I freaking used to love that in like middle school and high school.
Hell yeah.
He plays an archangel who pretty much like goes rogue against like Michael and God, and he becomes like the second Lucifer. And freaking Lucifer's played by Viggo Mortensen, and it's a fucking cool movie.
What?
Dude, you gotta see it. It's like you wouldn't even believe this movie was made, and like Eric Stoltz is in it. And
when did this happen?
In the 90s, dude. And it's like this movie, like I feel like if it just had like another couple $1 million, it would be like one of the biggest movies in the 90s. It's so cool. So cool. It's very like Catholicism, but I recommend that watch. You might love it, Dom. Prophecy. They made like 4 movies.
Yeah, I remember you having the DVD.
But Christopher Walken's great in that. And one last take. Did Stephen King like this movie? I know he like not shits on, but like some movies he's like, I never like that.
He's pretty hard critic. I don't know if he liked this one.
Yeah.
I feel like he would like this one. Or at least the performances, right?
Yeah, just having Martin Sheen and Christopher Walken star in it, like those are the names on the poster. If you're Stephen King, like, and it's the 80s, 70s, and the 80s, you're definitely aware of those guys.
Yeah. Also, really quick, I forgot Willem Dafoe. He would have been pretty good, I think.
Holy shit.
Maybe?
Were you thinking of Platoon?
I don't know. I just popped in my head. I was just like, Willem Dafoe's kind of got that like similar look. He's just like a bony, skinny white guy. I don't know.
Got those crazy eyes.
Oh, I found it. I just Googled it. Stephen King has referred to the Dead Zone film as being among his favorite of the plot-driven novels that he has written. And watching Cronenberg's movie, that particular classification stands out. However, season 6 with Anthony Michael Hall is hot trash. No, he didn't say that part.
I wasn't
throws
surprised.
it under the bus.
I was like, yeah, he would say that.
Hot, steamy pile of dirt trash.
Dude, I'm not surprised that Stephen King liked that movie. That was a good movie.
It's a good one. It's just a good movie in general.
Yeah, definitely check it out. If you're a Stephen King fan, if you're a Christopher Walken fan, if you're a fan of Maine, just check it out. But, all right, well, Dom, thanks for reading the book and filling us in on all the, the dead zones of the dead zone that we didn't know about.
No problem. Sorry for the tangents, man.
No.
I'm sorry for the shitty impression, dude. I tried.
That was good.
He's crazy. Come on.
Hey, Walken, why don't you spin the wheel?
Spin. Why? Wheel horror. It's great. Pick a movie. Dun, 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 dun. Why is the Gremlins theme stuck in my head?
I just watched the Mogwai, the show, The Secret of the Mogwai.
That's why. I don't know.
Was it any good?
I saw it advertised on Instagram. That's crazy.
Yeah, I watched the whole first season. It is actually not terrible. It's not terrible.
Gremlins. Mark, why?
All right, spin the fucking wheel, man.
All right. Spinning. Jeepers Creepers Dose.
Hey, all right. Perfect. So for this episode, we actually have Ryan Baldessario coming back. So that'll be nice to have him continue the series with us. But Dom, thank you again for coming back to talk with us about the Dead Zone. We appreciate all the research.
Oh, so awesome, guys.
Yeah, we'll get another Stephen King one on the book soon.
That's so great.
He doesn't have many books, so we're running out of content.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening in. If you haven't had a chance yet, we released our episode on Friday night, so you can check that out. And we will see you all next week with Jeepers Creepers 2.